Welcome to the Nameless. Every time I tried to prove they existed, the photos changed. The first time it happened, I thought I was just tired. I was sitting on the floor of my old bedroom at my parents' house, flipping through a dusty photo album I'd pulled from the closet. I'd driven down for the weekend, mostly out of boredom, and ended up going through boxes of old stuff. It felt normal at first. Birthday parties, Christmas mornings, random backyard barbecues. But when I turned to the page that should have had a picture of the three of us, me, my older brother Daniel, and my younger sister Mia, there was only me. Just me, standing in the center of the yard with an awkward half smile. My arms were stretched slightly outward, like they'd been around someone's shoulders. But there was no one there. I stared at it for a long time, waiting for my brain to correct itself. It didn't. I grew up in a small suburb in Ohio. Quiet neighborhood, cul-de-sac, streetlights that buzzed at night. We were the kind of family that ate dinner together almost every night. My dad coached Little League. My mom kept everything overly organized. And there were 3 of us kids. That's how I remembered it. Daniel was 4 years older than me. Mia was 2 years younger. We shared a bathroom upstairs, fought over cereal, and watched late-night cartoons when our parents thought we were asleep. There are specific memories I can pull up without even trying. Daniel teaching me how to ride a bike, letting go too early and pretending he hadn't. Mia crying when we locked her out of my room during a game. These aren't vague impressions. They feel solid. So when my mom walked into the room and saw me holding the photo album, she smiled and said, "You were such a cute kid. Such a cute kid." I remember laughing a little and saying, "Yeah, we all were." She looked at me strangely. "What do you mean, we?" It was subtle, the kind of comment you brush off. "Me, Daniel, and Mia," I said. She didn't laugh.
She didn't even hesitate. "Honey," she said gently, like she was correcting a child, "you've always been an only child." I thought she was joking. I even smiled, waiting for her to break. She didn't. I told myself it was some kind of misunderstanding. Maybe she thought I was talking about cousins. Maybe she misheard me. But that night at dinner, I brought it up again, casually. "Do you guys remember when Daniel broke his arm trying to jump off the garage?" My dad frowned. "Who's Daniel?" The way he said it made my stomach drop. I didn't push it further that night. I just nodded like I'd misspoken. But my mind kept racing. People don't forget their own kids. I went back to the photo album after they went to bed. I flipped through every page, every birthday, every holiday. It was just me. There were empty spaces in some pictures, gaps where someone should have been standing. In one Christmas photo, I was holding up a gift, looking off to my right with this wide grin, like someone next to me had just said something funny. But there was no one there. The next morning, I drove home feeling unsettled. I live about an hour away now, in a small apartment near the city. I couldn't stop thinking about it. So I did what anyone would do. I called Daniel. Or at least I tried. His contact wasn't in my phone. That didn't make sense. I'd texted him a few months ago. I remembered asking about his job, about his new apartment in Chicago. I could picture the blue chat bubbles. I searched his name. Nothing. Then I searched Mia. Nothing. I went through old emails, social media. There was no trace of them. At this point, I started questioning myself. Memory can be unreliable, I know that. But this felt too detailed to be imaginary. I could describe Daniel's laugh, the way Mia used to chew on her hoodie strings. You don't invent that accidentally. A week later, I went back to my parents' house unannounced. I needed to see something in person. I walked straight to the hallway closet where we used to mark our heights on the wall. My mom hated it, but my dad insisted it was tradition. The wall was freshly painted. "Did you guys redo this recently?" I asked. My mom looked confused. "We painted that years ago."
I ran my fingers along the smooth surface, trying to remember where the little pencil marks used to be. Daniel's name at the top, mine under it, Mia's tiny scribble at the bottom. There was nothing now. I started opening drawers, old cabinets. I found school report cards with my name on them. Only mine. My parents kept everything, so if Daniel and Mia had existed, there would have been something, but there wasn't. The weirdest part was how calm my parents were about it. They weren't worried. They weren't concerned about my mental state. They just seemed mildly confused whenever I mentioned having siblings. It was like I was the only one who thought anything was wrong. That's when I found the camcorder tapes. We used to record everything in the early 2000s. Birthday parties, soccer games, random afternoons. The tapes were in a plastic bin in the basement. I took a handful home with me and borrowed a player from a coworker. The first tape was labeled Summer 2006. I would have been 10, Daniel 14, Mia 8. I fast-forwarded to a clip I remembered clearly. The three of us in the backyard, building a ramp for our bikes. The video showed the backyard, the wooden ramp, the grass, and me, standing alone. I was talking, laughing, pausing as if someone else had spoken, but there was no one there. I watched it 3 times. At one point, I handed something off screen to the left, like I was giving Daniel a tool. My arm stayed extended for a second too long, waiting. Then it dropped. I felt cold watching it, not scared in a dramatic way, just wrong. I started recording the screen with my phone, just to have proof. But when I replayed the clip on my phone later that night, something else had changed. In the original video, my 10-year-old self had clearly looked to the left while talking. In the recording on my phone, I was staring straight ahead the entire time, like I'd been talking to no one. That's when the mini blackouts started. Small ones. I'd lose track of a few minutes here and there. I'd open a tab on my computer and not remember searching it. I'd find myself standing in the kitchen holding a glass of water without recalling pouring it. I told myself it was stress, but then I found something that I can't explain. In my apartment closet, inside a box of old notebooks, I found a drawing. It was on lined paper, childish handwriting at the top. Me and Daniel and Mia. The drawing showed 3 stick figures holding hands. Except there were 4 figures. I was in the middle. On either side of me were 2 taller figures labeled D and M, and on the far right there was another one, slightly shorter than Daniel. No label. I stared at it for a long time. I don't remember a 4th sibling. I checked the date at the top of the page, 2004. I would have been 8. I tried to remember anyone else in the house, a cousin who stayed with us, a neighbor who was always over. Nothing. That night, I dreamed about the hallway upstairs. In the dream, there were 4 bedroom doors instead of 3. Mine, Daniel's, Mia's, and one at the end of the hall. The door was slightly open. The light inside was off. I didn't go in. When I woke up, I could still picture the door clearly. The next weekend, I went back to my parents' house again. I didn't tell them I was coming. I walked upstairs slowly. The hallway had always had 3 doors and a bathroom, but now there were 4. The 4th door was at the end, just like in my dream. It was painted the same color as the others. Same handle. I stood there for a full minute before touching it. It was locked. I called my mom upstairs. "What's this room?" I asked. She looked genuinely confused. "That's always been there." "What's inside?" "Storage," she said. "It's been storage since we moved in." I asked for the key. She hesitated, just slightly, then went downstairs to get it. While she was gone, I pressed my ear against the door. Nothing. No sound. Just that hollow, empty quiet you get in closed spaces. When she came back, she handed me the key without meeting her eyes. The room was small. No windows. Just boxes stacked against the walls. Old decorations, tax files, random junk. But in the center of the room was a twin bed. made neatly. White sheets, a single pillow. I looked at my mom. "Why is there a bed in the storage room?" She frowned. "There's not." I turned back. The bed was still there. I stepped closer to it. The sheets were slightly indented, like someone had been sitting on the edge. "Mom," I said quietly. She grabbed my arm. "There's nothing there." Her grip tightened. For a second, I felt this overwhelming wave of doubt. I blinked hard. The bed was gone. Just empty floor. I don't remember leaving the room. I don't remember driving home. The next clear memory I have is sitting on my couch, holding my phone. There was a new contact saved. No name, just a blank space. I opened the message thread. There were dozens of messages, all from me. "Where did you go? Why don't they remember you?" I still do. The responses were empty, just gray bubbles with no text inside. I checked the timestamps. They stretched back years. I tried to scroll up further, but the thread glitched and refreshed, and suddenly it was gone. No blank contact, no messages. I went to my parents' house one last time after that. I needed something solid, something physical that couldn't just change. I brought a permanent marker.
In the hallway, on the freshly painted wall, I wrote 3 names: Daniel, Mia, and underneath them I hesitated, then added the 4th name that came to mind. I don't know where it came from. Evan. The moment I finished writing it, I felt this strange pressure in my ears, like when you change altitude. I stepped back. The wall looked normal, blank. My hand was still holding the marker, uncapped. There was no ink on the wall. I dropped it. That was the moment I realized something that terrified me more than the idea of imaginary siblings. It wasn't that they never existed. It was that something was actively removing them, erasing them. Every photo, every video, every memory that could prove they were real, except mine. And even that felt fragile. Since then, things have been getting quieter. My parents call less. When they do, they sound distant, like we're not as close as we used to be. Last week, I visited again. The hallway only had 3 doors. Mine. The bathroom.
The master bedroom. No extra room. I stood there for a while, trying to remember where it had been. I couldn't. I went into my old bedroom. It felt smaller, emptier. On the dresser was a framed photo of me at 10 years old, standing in the backyard, alone. I picked it up. For a split second, I could have sworn there was someone's shoulder at the edge of the frame. Then it was just sky. I don't bring it up anymore. There's no point. Every attempt to prove they existed only makes the evidence thinner. Sometimes I test myself. I close my eyes and say their names out loud. Daniel, Mia, Evan. The first 2 still feel familiar. The 3rd feels newer, like I learned it recently. There are moments now where I question small things. Did I always go to that middle school? Was my room always blue? Last night, I opened my phone to look at old pictures. There were fewer than I remembered. I found a selfie from a few years ago. I was smiling, arms stretched out, like someone was standing next to me.
But the space beside me was empty. I don't try to prove anything anymore. I just hold on to the memories while they still feel real. Because sometimes, late at night, when the apartment is completely silent, I hear what sounds like someone walking down a hallway that doesn't exist. And I can't shake the feeling that one day I'll wake up, look at an old photo, and I'll be the one who's missing.